Hi, my name is Chris Mayfield, and what you are currently looking at is the overview of my level entitled The player begins the level by awakening in an abandoned and run-down house in the middle of nowhere. At this point, their objective is to figure out how to open the front door to allow them to proceed through the rest of the level. In this portion, they must collect the 5 objects. These 5 objects are hidden throughout the entire house. The player will have to sit there and search by interacting with the different doors in order to open them and find all the lantern objects. Once the player finds all the objects, the front door will open as well as the garage door. Upon exiting the house, the player is treated to a rocket launcher and a set of 5 targets in which they can shoot and interact with. When the player shoots the target, it will fall over. In a couple seconds, it will reset back to a standing position. The player can do this an infinite amount of times. From here, the player grabs the vehicle from the garage and drives off down the long and narrow road. Eventually, they'll come across a jump section. When they cross over the jump, they'll be treated to a cutscene where the camera goes in third person, pulls back, and they can see themselves jumping over the statues. After making this incredible Dukes of Hazzard-like jump, the players continue along the road until they eventually reach this roadblock. The players drive up to these trees, and an explosion happens out of nowhere, causing them to collapse, blocking the player's path to the enemy compound. The players are then forced to go through the water trench to the left of the roadblock. They cannot go to the right as there's trees in their way, and the roadblock prevents any further access. They must swim all the way across until they can get past the trees and go towards the enemy compound. Once the player gets so close to the compound, they trigger a fight between 2 bots. When they destroy the 2 bots, they trigger another sequence which allows a boss bot to be formed. He comes out of the front door shooting, ready to kill the player. Once the player has dispatched of the boss, they can enter the enemy compound looking for an object that helps them defeat the level. When they activate this object, they are greeted to both a message and a sound that indicate to them that they have beaten the level. During the process of creating this level, I had many things go right for me. At the same time, I had many things that didn't go so well for me. Right now, I'm going to sit here and try to discuss the two. First, I'd like to start off with what went wrong while making this level. The biggest issue I had was dealing with the limitations of the MacBook Pro. When I tried to run UDK in it, it will work on the Windows side, but fails constantly due to memory. Either that, or sometimes it just feels like it doesn't want to work at all. The next issue I had was originally creating a level that was completely out of scope. I made my level way too large, and when I tried to fill up this level, I realized how much of a drain it would be on memory. So what I had to do was go back and downgrade it, downsize the entire level. I also experienced the same issue when dealing with the foliage brush. I wanted to make this level come to life, so I needed static meshes like trees out there. But the more I put in there, the higher density of the brush, the more it would drain on the memory, so eventually it wouldn't even load. So what went right? Well, the Kismets, for one thing, were pretty easy for me to figure out. In fact, after dealing with week 2, I knew exactly how I was going to handle the ramp jump sequence. I already had dealt with dealing with cameras and hitting them at specific triggers. In week 2, I had also done some independent research about enemy AI in Kismet. In the week 2 assignment, I just forced team deathmatch. In this week's assignment, I actually went through and handcrafted the AI for all of my bots. And while this process did take more thought and time into figuring out how to do it, I found it much more rewarding. In the week 2 assignment, all of my bots fought in a massive free-for-all. This time, however, they only attacked the player and ignored each other. The roadblock kismet also came together real nice. I was able to get the matinee for the tree collapses and make the sound with no problem. The real challenge was figuring out how to put a particle emitter in there and how to get it to go off when I wanted it to at the trigger and not at the beginning of the level. The thing I'm most disappointed about this level is the fact that I didn't have enough time to fully flesh out the way I wanted this level to look. It was a combination of that and the fact of limited resources in the way of the content browser, which really prevented me from doing what I wanted. And while there are some awesome pieces, static meshes, particle systems, in the resources that we have for UDK, to me it just simply wasn't enough. I feel like all the levels are going to look pretty similar with every student having the same material. Speaking of time, I also wish I had enough to go there and do some independent research about spawning bots. While I know I can obviously spawn them, I wanted to figure out how to spawn the exact skeletal mesh because I wanted my boss to actually look different than he is. I hope you enjoy my level.